24 wins in one season, Lance, and the season's not over yet. This is one rider wins more than the vast majority of the teams during the season.
Well,
extraordinary.
Look. I mean, just hearing you list those off, I was getting tired. But honestly, that didn't become. Obviously, those races are hard. The season is long and intense. You get physically tired. Mentally, it's really hard. I had not even thought of Lombardia, and you're right. I mean, should we just give it to him right now? All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move Podcast, talking about the 2024 World Championships in Zurich, Switzerland. 275 kilometers. Now, if this show, as we get going here, just real quick, if it seems like maybe a show you've heard before or a repeat, it's because you kind of have, right? We're just going to talk about the dominance of Tadej Pogačar. I am joined by Johan Brunel. We are down here actually in the south of France. We've been riding with some buddies the last few days. Just been absolutely amazing. This is where I spent most of my career training, certainly in my lead up to the tours. And it's fun to be back. Fun to be back on roads that I really haven't ridden seriously for a long time. So, Johan, thanks for being here. By the way, Johan on the bike. If you follow the socials, Johan, fuck, man, when was the last time that you and me rode together?
Probably 98? 98?
I was gonna say decades.
98. The year
I was, and folks, Johan said, I'm gonna bring my bike. I was like, ooh, I don't know how that's gonna work out. I've been training, feeling good, and I'll tell you what, the old boy still has it. Pedals the same. The pedaling style's the same that I remember from 2 decades ago. And yeah. And then when it came to the downhills, of course, very tricky and technical downhills here. Right on the wheel. Very impressive, Johan.
It's fun. It's fun, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So we need to do this more often, Lance.
Okay, no problem. Today's show brought to you by Zwift. So Zwift just released the Zwift Ride, an all-new smart bike that is changing the indoor game and making it easier and more affordable than ever before to get started riding indoors. Now, you may know that I wasn't a big fan of riding indoors, but we're getting to that time of year. It's finally cooling off in Austin. And as you saw at the World Championships today, I mean, here you had a race, certainly the women's race yesterday, in the 50s, pouring rain. Men's race today, 60 degrees, no rain, but it's that time of year. It's starting to cool off. That's why you want to ride indoors. The new Zwift Ride is ultra quiet, super easy to set up. You just need one tool. Now, that tool is called the frame key. That builds it all, makes any adjustment, saddle height, bar height, and reach. And once you're done, the frame key just snaps right back into this cool little magnetic holder on the frame. You never lose it. The adjustability makes the Zwift Ride perfect for anyone in the house to use. And at $1299.99, it's a game changer. So head on over to Zwift.com to check it out. That's Zwift.com. Also, coming up into the winter season, join WEDU for the WEDU rides. WEDU Wednesday and Suffer Sunday. See you all out there. Also today brought to you by OneSkin. As I just said, been down here in the south of France. Sun has been ripping out there, exercising, wiping your face all the time. You start to look at yourself, you're like, oh, is this dry skin or these wrinkles? What's coming on here? These are just a few of the visible signs of aging. I'm talking about OneSkin, by the way, something these guys know all about, right? Now I'm not concerned with the way that I look, but I do want to keep my skin healthy as I get older. That's why I love their topical supplements. They actually help your skin feel better and behave younger as you age. Now, here's the secret. The OS01 is scientifically proven to decrease lines and wrinkles, boost hydration, and help with the thinning skin that often comes with age. Don't just take my word for it. They've got over 4,000, listen to this, 4,000 five-star reviews for their full line of face, body, sun, and travel size products. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company by focusing on cellular aspects of aging. OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using the code THEMOVE at oneskin.co. That's oneskin.co for 15% off. Use the code THEMOVE. All right, Johan, look, I mean, we've said this. I mean, Tadej Pogačar is a generational talent. And I don't even, frankly, I don't know how long a generation is, right? It's not 10 years. It's not, doesn't feel like it's 20. I mean, this kid is, I mean, to me, a generational, you got to go way back in cycling to see somebody. Look, he's already in this pantheon of greatest of all time. He really is. I mean, he's just,
I agree.
And the level, I think the thing to me, obviously physically, the kid is so superior. The level of confidence. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like they threw him in the juniors race. I mean, even in my heyday, if you put me in the U23 race, I wouldn't have gone off the front with 100 kilometers to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is supremely confident.
Yeah, well, I think what really says it all, Lance. I quickly read some post-race interviews of the other two favorites, Remco and Mathieu van der Poel, and they both say the same. They're in awe. They can't believe it. Evenepoel thought it was suicide. They can't believe what they saw, and they've raced with him all year. They get along well. They train together sometimes. I think what Pogačar did today is something that we have. I mean, I think it's the most deserved world champion from the history of modern cycling, I would say. Mm-hmm. But it's so unique to see a rider that can win all these different races. Because this is not. They often say, okay, we have Pogačar, we have Vingegaard, right? And lots of people put them on the same level. Well, that's not true. They are not on the same level. Vingegaard, there's no way Jonas Vingegaard can do what Pogačar did today in a one-day race. And so, he already beat the biggest specialists in Tour of Flanders, Van Aert and Van der Poel, on the cobbles. What's left? There's only one thing that's left. This is Paris-Roubaix. He can win that. He can win that too. But I think especially what speaks, to the incredible performance is that he came in as the big favorite, the only favorite. And on yesterday on the outcome show with Spencer, he was minus 150 for a one-day race. That's unheard of to have such a big favorite. There was nobody who thought that somebody else could win, and he does it. And the way he did it, I think it's extraordinary. So. We watched it together. The race, it was a bit boring, we have to say. But
we do. So, if there is one criticism we have.
Well, at some point they came back a bit. You could say, well, maybe he hasn't managed his feeding properly, his fueling properly, but. If you look at it, he goes with 100K to go, bridges to the big group. That was ahead, then goes straight away. Sivakov was there for the French team, but actually a teammate of UAE. So I wonder what's going to be the story there, because Sivakov definitely didn't ride for France. He rode for Pogačar. I mean, and listen, I completely understand that. But then he goes solo with 75 kilometers to go, and he gets between 45 and 55 seconds. He hasn't had more than that. And he manages that difference during the last 2 hours of the race, which is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing worth noting is, and it's been a long time since people have talked about the Triple Crown in cycling. I mean, obviously we were talking about it in the lead up to this World Championships because Tadej had the opportunity to do that. But it's been Stephen Roach did it in 1987. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of it died and went away. Indurain had a shot to do it in 1993. Got second to some other guy at the World Championships. But it's not something that you just hear much about. However, it's still history.
Yeah.
And there had only been two people to ever do that. That's Eddie Merckx and Stephen Roach. By the way, too, different era and obviously a different cycling, but as you will know, Johan, I mean, the World Championships were much sooner, not much sooner, but several weeks sooner. So you could still kind of come out of the Tour. I mean, the big sort of the big juggle would be, how do you get from the Giro to the Tour and maintain the form? And once you get out of the Tour, you have this form and you roll into the World Championships. Now, being towards the tail end of September, it's that Triple Crown.
Long time.
It's a long time. So I was interested to see. I was just, before we hopped on, I was just checking the news, and this is on the cover of CNN.com, right? So I'm not there looking at just stuff that I read. It's on the front page of CNN.com. Tadej Pogačar does something in cycling that hasn't been, one of the rarest feats in cycling. Truly makes history. Only 3 riders. So I'm with you. I mean, he's special.
Very
so special. And the other, and I think it also has some impact on what you said about Sivakov. This is, reminder, just like the Olympic Games, this World Championships had no radio communication. So there was this, I'm not a fan of that, but nonetheless, that's what the governing body has decided to do. Sivakov would not have been getting any sort of feedback from the team car.
No instructions.
Yeah, no instructions. Like, I mean, you can imagine. I think Vauclair is the sport director for the French team. But you imagine a world where it says, excuse me, 5 years ago you were Russian, now you're French. What are you doing? Right? He's not getting any of that, right? Yeah. So he's up there. And what also makes, I think, the World Championships unique is the riders wear the jersey of their country, but they wear some version of their team shorts. So you can see who they're aligned with commercially for really, I guess it's really this year it was 363 other days of the year outside of today and the Olympic Games. You see that sort of that loyalty that has to, that's who pays the bills. But he wasn't getting that feedback. Pogačar wasn't getting that feedback. You send a move 70, 80, 90 kilometers from the finish. You try to get your nutrition right. You're not necessarily getting good updates. He did call the team car at some point. Then they pulled the car. You even noted as we were watching, because he was starting to lose time. You imagine even a rider of his stature, right? One of the greatest of all time, going, I'm starting to feel this. They pulled the team car, which means it's under a minute. Are they catching me? Like, I don't care who you are. You start to get a little nervous.
No, with that effort, 100K to go, bridge up, and then 75K to go by yourself. I mean, the danger of getting hit by the hammer is behind every corner in the last 20 kilometers, I think. So, he did manage that very well. But I remember when we started the season, Lance, we did a show on Strade Bianche. It was his first race back this season, and we said, he won that with an attack with 70 something kilometers to go.
Yeah, it was a complete rerun of this. And
we said, he looks different, he's leaner, he's definitely on a different level, and he's been showing that all season. I mean, if you look through his results, we can talk about the Triple Crown, and only Eddie Merckx and Stephen Roach have done it. But even Strade Bianche, he wins straight after. He wins the Tour of Catalonia, which is a World Tour race with, I think, 3 stages. Then he goes to Liège-Bastogne-Liège, wins that with a solo. Then he goes to the Giro. He wins 6 stages and the overall, plus whatever other classification there is. Then from the Giro to the Tour, wins 6 stages and the overall. Takes some time off. Comes back into the racing, goes to Canada, wins the second race in Montreal, and now is world champion in Zurich. And bad news for everybody, guys. Tour of Lombardy, guess who's going to win there? The world champion. This 24 wins in one season, Lance, and the season's not over yet. This is one rider wins more than the vast majority of the teams during the season.
Well,
extraordinary.
Look. I mean, just hearing you list those off, I was getting tired. Right? Honestly, that didn't become. Obviously, those races are hard. The season is long and intense. You get physically tired. Mentally, it's really hard. I had not even thought of Lombardia, and you're right. I mean, should we just give it to him right now? But boy, it will take a toll at some, or maybe not. I mean, I guess if he, every year he does something.
What's remarkable, Lance, is that you have this young rider who at a very young age won 2 times the Tour de France, and to think that when he won those tours, that was not his best level. He's been beaten 2 times by Jonas, and he's been upping his game. And when he was 21 and 22, he won the Tour 2 times, and this was not like the best Pogačar. This is, I think, stands for the quality of this rider. And and as we said, he's, what is he, 26 now? He just turned 26. He's still improving. This is not his limit. But anyway, we've seen the Pogačar show. I think we should also talk a little bit about the others. What happened?
We definitely should. But two quick things. One, I know we have a lot of Peter Attia fans who listen to the show. Dr. Peter Attia, just had him on his podcast called The Drive. And Attia is so funny. He loves cycling. And if y'all listen to the show, you picked this up. I did his show a while back, but he flew up to Montreal and interviewed Tadej for his podcast. People loved it. Our good buddy Marcelo, who we're here with, listened to it the other day and just thought it was so fascinating. So just a shout out to Peter. Give that a listen. I know, like I said, people dug it. And then we should. Yes, you're exactly right. By the way, there were other people in the bike race today.
There were. And who? You have the champion, Mathieu.
But I want to, before we get into that, I just got to do a little business. Today's show also brought to you by Ketone IQ. We often hear that fasting and exercise are good for the brain. HVMN launched the world's first drinkable ketone in 2017. Ketone IQ is their latest innovation on ketones, better effectiveness, taste, and cost. Ketone IQ delivers clean fuel that can cross the blood-brain barrier, supplying your brain and body sustained energy, focus, and sharpness. 30% off your first subscription order, plus a free 6-pack when you use the link ketone.com/themove. That's ketone.com/themove. Also today brought to you by Ventum. Now, this is a brand that's completely kicking ass. Johan, been a couple decades since we rode together. We were both. You're on the Ventum. You brought your GS1 over here. I flew over here with my GS1. Our good buddy Dean Hill on this trip on his GS1. That's our gravel bikes. Now, that just shows you how sick this gravel bike is. We're on some of the most beautiful roads that you can imagine riding a bike. We're out here on the GS1. Thing feels like an absolute rocket ship, totally stable and smooth. They got some special deals. They've got the new GS1. It's got SRAM Apex AXS. It's got the minted colorway, which is insane. So it's fully electronic with that SRAM Apex shifting. And it's the same full carbon frame found on the highest end GS1s, all for $29.99. Again, that's exclusively available in the minted colorway. They got other new colors too. Flint and Escalante. I'm going to have to talk to Dio. Like, what is Escalante? Isn't that like a Cadillac?
That's Escalade.
Oh shit. Okay. Anyways, nonetheless, that just launched August 1st. the Ventum Escalante, not the Cadillac Escalade. I don't know what I'm thinking. Anyhow, listeners of the Move get 20% off any Ventum bike through September by using the code THEMOVE20 at checkout. Head on over to ventumracing.com. Listeners of the Move there, 20% off. Use the code THEMOVE20. All right, let's talk about the rest of the bike race. Because, by the way, because we were watching, Somebody slipped up on the camera work. Ben O'Connor, second place. What a season!
Second place.
I watched that Netflix thing, and I talked about this earlier a few months ago. I was like, that one episode but he's writing his own story, leaving the team. But they missed it. The TV folks, the production crew, because we were sort of going, all right, well, it looks like this is a race for second. Surely Vanderpool's got second. And they flashed to the finish and that straight on shot. And all of a sudden, Ben O'Connor's all by himself. Yeah. Nobody near him. So,
first of all,
to say, a hell of a season for him.
Yeah, great season. Comes off, with really good form from the Vuelta, super confident. And, I think Ben O'Connor rode the typical championships rider world championship. We hardly saw him. He was always there, just hanging there, didn't make any big efforts. And at the end, he could get away. Obviously, I think everybody was watching Mathieu and Remco in that group. And there's always one who slips away. But hey, I think well-deserved. And then third place for Mathieu van der Poel. Also, I think well-deserved. He was probably the strongest guy in that group. Remco was cooked at the end. He did a lot of work, did a lot of attacks and stuff. But, I think Evenepoel was good, but didn't have a super day today. And then I can't help but see that the Belgian team was nowhere where they should have been. I mean, Belgian fans are not going to like what I say, but this was not a collective performance which was worthy for the quality of team they had. It was only Remco in the final. We had one rider, Laurence de Plus, who was in the early break. Other than that, I haven't seen anything. And I've read also that the national coach is not very impressed with the performance. Also, obviously, we all, as Belgians, got spoiled in the last championships. World titles, 2 Olympic titles, world title over Lotte Kopecky also in the women's race, by the way. So yeah, I mean, I was not impressed with the Belgian team, but I mean, what a lot of people said, it's for climbers, 4,500 meters of elevation. It was for all rounders. Lots of guys in there, really strong riders, but the fact that Van der Poel's on the podium, I mean, he's not a climber. We all know that. And then who else is up there? Well, Hirschi was up there. And then, what a performance on Queens.
Yep.
That's one of the riders that I said, wow, early break, he was out there with, was it Ben Healy? Him and Ben Healy who were out there?
And I was going to say this Ben Healy, I've mentioned this before, hard to watch on a bike because he's kind of all over the place. Form wise, but boy, I love his spirit. And this kid is, you put the numbers on his back and he just tries. And even if he's in a break and that break gets caught, he tries again. I mean, it just, you got to love him. I mean, what a fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I think, hats off for Tom Squeens because, he was up there with the favorites with Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel in the cobbled classics in the spring. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was 5th in the Olympic Games, the Olympic road race, and now he's 4th in the World Championships. Really, really top performance of him. And then finally, Remco got 5th. I think that's obviously he has to be happy with that based on how tired he was at the end of the race. He was never really a factor. He's both Belgium and the Netherlands, they've been always on the defense once Pogačar went. I can't help but think that if both Van der Poel and Remco would have had super legs, they should have been with the Pogačar. Mm-hmm. It's not like Pogačar can surprise the whole peloton, right? Everybody knows.
No. So everybody knows. I mean, if you remember back to Strade Bianchi, he just told everybody the day before
he was going to go.
Guys, this is where I'm going to attack. Just FYI. I mean, that's. I do have a question though about if you separate, because I do think Remco and Van der Poel, they probably went into today, figuring or thinking that they had a chance to win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think outside of those two guys, I don't think anybody else thought. I mean, it's bike racing. So 200 guys on the road, 275 kilometers, anything can happen, crashes, mechanicals. Yeah. So, but outside of Remco and Van der Poel, I mean, you have to think that there were a lot of those guys going, hey, man, this is a big damn deal to get on the podium of the World Championships. I'm going to let him do his thing. If he wants to go with 200 kilometers to go, I'm in this race to get on the podium. Yeah, you just have to imagine that there were plenty of, and we're not talking about Packville, we're talking about big-time riders, right?
Well, actually, Van der Poel said before the race, I don't know if it was in a press conference or something, he said, based on this season, Pogačar would be the most deserving world champion.
Yeah, well, right.
But I do think, however, I mean, those two guys are winners. You know, I think they thought they had a chance. They just, at the moment he went, I think it was too risky. And they knew that if they would go with him, they would probably not have a chance for a medal because they would blow up from so far away.
Yeah. Well, that is my question, right? I mean, it I don't know. I think you have to try to go with him.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to win, I mean, listen, if Pogačar goes, he's not gonna wait. He's not gonna come back. This is not. The thing is, I think if you're so strong, Lance, as Pogačar, and you see that more and more, even with Remco, you know, they want to avoid to be caught up into a tactical game,
right?
And that's why they go so far. And then basically, if you go from far, then you have a selection behind, and there's nobody else of all those rivals with teammates, and you basically force the situation towards what you want it to be. So, but still, man, I mean, 75K to go by yourself, attack with 100K to go. It's like, wow, what is this? So, I mean, what else can we say?
I can tell you what else we can say is two things that I just spaced on and meant to say at the top of the show. Both of them, forgive me, just involve a little bit of tragedy. George was supposed to be on the show. He is without power in Greenville, South Carolina. So obviously Hurricane Helene ran through the Southeast and just wreaked havoc. So our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody out there that's lives have been massively affected. And George just couldn't, I don't even think he could watch the race. Actually, he was trying to shoot us a text and it was spotty even at that, but he's got no power, no Wi-Fi. So he missed out. But also, and for those cycling fans out there, I mean, it doesn't get any worse, right? We know this game is dangerous. Crashes happen. It is not, I shouldn't say it's not an end because, we lost Mader last year in the Tour of Switzerland, but unfortunately, Muriel Furrer, a young girl from Switzerland as well, 18 years old, dies in the road race. Not to bring it down, but certainly thinking about her family and loved ones and the entire sport. I mean, these things, you have an 18-year-old girl in the junior women's road race. I mean, Tadej Pogačar is thinking about that. That should just yet again reminded, like, wow. And we had a buddy of ours had a pretty big crash on the ride today. Shattered his bike, shattered his helmet, had to go get stitches. This is a dangerous game, folks. And so, again, our thoughts and prayers go out to her family, her teammates, and everybody in the sport. So I did mean to say that at the top of the show. I got overwhelmed, but terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you how fragile we all are, you know? So, I mean, like, as you said, Lance, we saw it today with one of our friends, but, in the race, I mean, what a tragedy, this 18-year-old girl chasing her dreams, probably, the pride of the family, and in Switzerland, in her own country.
You get selected
for the World Championships in your own country, and then that happens. It's just, there's no word for it.
Yeah. Family had to be there, I'm sure.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Switzerland is a very small country.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful country. For those who were able to, Zurich is an amazing place. I mean, I always loved the Grand Prix of Zurich. I'll never forget it because when I turned pro after the Olympics in '92, raced my first World Cup in San Sebastian, got last place in San Sebastian. I thought, man, this might be a bad idea. and a week or two later, I think it was 2 weeks later, we had the Grand Prix of Zurich, and I got second. There's another World Cup. Our old friend THEMOVE won, and I thought, well, I think I'll stick around. But it's gorgeous. The roads are beautiful, which makes her crash even all the more complicated because just sometimes pavements are, the traffic, all these things add up, but absolutely great for riding. And very difficult. I mean, those roads in and around Zurich, you saw them in the races. I mean, sections of 17%. Country showed well, I thought.
Yeah. Today was amazing. The other. I mean, both the junior men under 23 and women's juniors. The weather was not good at all. And the women's race yesterday, won, by the way, for second time in a row by Lotte Kopecky. So as Belgians, we can be proud of that. But yeah, I thought the same thing. Zurich before was one of the hardest classics. In September, also, I think it was in September, right? Or was it the end of August? Probably end of August.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But very similar. So yeah, I think the conclusion, Lance, is that the guy who deserved it the most won the race, and in a fashion that it's not going to be early to be forgotten. We will remember this day for a long time.
Yeah, no, this is the Pogačar's 2024 season will go down in the history books as and he's young. I mean, I don't know what his plans on in 2025, but well, your popcorn, you might some more of it.
People say you can't compare different eras, and we shouldn't, but lots of people have called him already. They start to call him the cannibal, based on what they call Eddy Merckx for winning it all. It's very difficult to compare, and we shouldn't. But let me tell you something. I mean, as you know, and as a lot of listeners of us know, I've interviewed both Eddy Merckx and Bernard Hinault, which, in my opinion, were the two cannibals of the history of cycling, by the strongest riders. And everybody who has seen them race and raced with them will second that. Both of them, when I asked them the question, who's the rider who is the closest to you and who is, who you like the most, both of them, without a millisecond of a doubt, said that straight away, Tadej Pogačar is my favorite rider.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough.
Hey, another special shout out, because I know you got a kick. We were heading back from the ride to watch the race, and you got a real kick out of Quinn Simmons on the start line. The new look that Quinny's rocking. It's sort of for those who haven't seen it, you can look it up. But if you're a Metallica fan at all, which yours truly certainly is, it's sort of like a redheaded James Hetfield look. And for you, Johan, James Hetfield's the singer of Metallica. Okay. Now I got y'all curious. You can go look it up. But boy, that was, and it didn't just have. I mean, the look was that was a tough look. But he rode great.
Ninth place in. Up there with all the favorites for, until the very final. And he rode a very strong race. It was really good to see him back at that. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, he did some really good performances already in Tour of Luxembourg a week ago. So we could kind of think that he would be up there. But 275K, great performance of Quinn Simmons today.
Yep. All right. Any other thing? We miss anything else?
I
just take let me just take a quick scan of the news, just make sure there's not. Yeah, I always love it after these races. You never know, somebody says something really stupid or funny.
I think the first reaction is everybody's going to be, all the rivals are going to be in awe of what happened. They can't believe it, because if you see how they were fighting for that medal, and how Van der Poel and Evenepoel and all these other guys, these top riders, were basically dragging themselves to the finish, and then you have Pogačar out there, and it's not. They have never seen him, They have not seen him anymore. He was out of sight, and they've not seen him anymore. So they said, "Well, they probably said, oh, we can't believe this."
Well, and we both remarked. I mean, he got close to a minute, and there was a moment with probably a lap and a half to go, and started coming down. Mm-hmm. 30, 37, 38, 39 seconds, and you're thinking, "Uh-oh, hold all winning bets. We might have a bike race." And then of course he just accelerated in the last lap. And again, without radio communication, perhaps some stuff on the side of the road, or maybe he got a tip that it was coming down, but then he pulled it back. I mean, it was that's hard to, once it starts to go that way, it typically continues to go that way. And we looked at each other and we're like, wow, I think you just found another Giro. Amazing. Yeah, and the other thing, all these guys that are on the strip with us, they follow. I don't think they follow cycling that closely, but they ask a lot of questions about the sport and about the riders and about the training and the nutrition, the physiques of the riders, and you've been up close and personal with a lot of these guys, certainly more so than I have. These guys are so small, and we just sort of reflect on when you raced, when I raced. I mean, I raced the Tour de France at 73 kilos, which is as light as I possibly could have been. And I thought it was just fascinating. Johan said to the group the other night, they said, look, there's no way that guy, me, could have won against this generation. It's just these are different athletes.
That weight.
Well, right. But that's, like I said, I guess in some world I could have got to 71 or 72. It would have been horrible and very difficult to get there, but that's still too heavy. Yeah. So it's a different game, and he's the best at the game right now. And
for sure, no doubt
as we said, which makes him, the way he rides, one of the best of all time. If not, I don't know what you got to do. I guess you got to go win. You got to win more than 2 tours to be considered. That will be the story that unfolds over the next 5 years. You got to imagine that he can go win 3 more tours. You start to get up there, then people just start saying, "I don't care about Merckx. I don't care about I don't care about Indoor. This kid's the greatest of all time." Yeah.
No, I think you can't compare. You can't compare eras. He's the greatest of his time.
But that's what people. That's what. Anyways, yeah. Yeah. People always like to say that.
Yeah, of course.
It's like this thing. Like my son, he loves basketball, and he'll put his hand in fire defending LeBron James. And no, LeBron James is so much better than Michael Jordan. I said, what the fuck? What are you talking about? I actually don't say it just like that because he's a 15-year-old boy. I'm like, you're crazy. Michael Jordan was way better than LeBron James. And then it starts this whole argument, but it never fails. If there's another 50-year-old or 60-year-old in the room, they side with me. If there's another 15 or 20 or even 25-year-old in the room, they side with my son. So you're right. I mean, it's tough to say. I guess you all just get lumped into this bucket of goats.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the GOAT is, you're the GOAT of your generation. That's it, because circumstances change. What would happen if, for example, if Eddie Merckx would be born today and he's racing with his potential, he develops from a young age with all the training techniques and the nutrition and all the science into a rider and has all the equipment and all the science behind it, what would happen? I would think he would still be the best, because those guys are just extraordinarily physically gifted people.
Yeah. Well, hey, I can't believe we're going to have to these kids. If I'm him, I'm not racing Lombardia. I don't care. I'm on vacation, man. It's time to take a vacation. Just chill. AKA let somebody else win a hard bike race. Another hard, very important bike race.
Yeah, super. He loves the bike, and he has fun on the bike. That's the what is it? What is there not to like about Pogačar? It's amazing how. He's young, he's smiling, he's funny. He has a lot of friends in the peloton, and just loves to ride his bike, and everybody likes it.
Yep. I should have tried that.
Yeah.
Hugging people.
Oh.
No, you're right. That would have felt weird. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all soon. Johan, it's been fun. Okay. And also fun podcast, but also fun biking with you. Last 4 days.
Me too. Okay.
Keep it up. Keep it up, dude.